Welcome back to the fourth and final round, the ultimate internet showdown of who is the better James Bond, Daniel Craig or Pierce Brosnan. This is scientifically and mathematically accurate, so if anyone tells you otherwise, point them to this series and they will be shown what is what. I've got a feeling that this one is going to come down to the wire, as we're into two of the possibly greatest James Bond films ever put to celluloid. We have Goldeneye and Casino Royale. But who will emerge victorious? Let's find out.
Goldeneye, you'll do what I please.
1995's Goldeneye is the first film to feature Pierce Brosnan as the title role, and it was directed by Martin Campbell. Campbell is a New Zealander filmmaker whose filmography includes The Mask of Zorro, Vertical Limit, and... wait, this can't be right. Wait, seriously? He also directed Casino Royale. So you're telling me this guy kicked off two different eras of the James Bond franchise? I guess we've got a mini director comparison thing going on. This is gonna be fun. Yeah. Let's see what he made of the script. Written by Bruce Firestein, who also wrote Tomorrow Never Dies, and the acclaimed writer of Exodus, Gods and Kings, Jeffrey Kane. The opening sequence of Goldeneye is pretty damn good. The images include being inside a gun barrel, naked dancers dancing on guns, sexy ladies taking sledgehammers to communist iconography, and whatever this is. Oh! The two-faced god Janus, that's what it is. Okay, I totally get it. Janus, the organization that's behind everything. I got it. It is evoking a specific moment in time. A feeling. The end of the Cold War, a conflict which loomed ever present as a macro story to every James Bond film up until this point. It's a sort of visual representation of the series asking itself, can it survive the fall of the Iron Curtain? And the close-up image of a golden iris is pretty good. You know, golden eye, golden iris, it works. The song, performed by Tina Turner, and written by Bono and The Edge. Also great to have Irish songwriters doing the first Irish Bond. Let me go down in the mud with the rivers all dry. Is pretty good too. Tina Turner absolutely has the pipes to make it instantly memorable. But it doesn't fully take enough influence from the themes of the film to make this sequence the best, or one of the best. It is one of the very, very, very good. Also, apparently Ace of Base wanted to do the James Bond song for this movie, and I want to hear that so badly. 4 out of 5.
From the shadow.
This film might have one of the greatest action set pieces in the James Bond franchise. The opening sequence starts with a death-defying practical bungee jump stunt, which is followed by some great filmmaking and a killer punchline.
Forgot to knock.
And while this sequence and the film in general have some of the best gunshot sounds in the franchise, or a fantastic motorcycle jump into the cockpit of a falling plane, this sequence is not the action set piece that I'm thinking of. No, of course not. How could it be when we have this? A tank chase. What else was it gonna be? This whole sequence looks just so dangerous, and I love it. Product placement bonus, and the moment where the tank is driving around and there's a statue on top of it. You didn't have to do that for me, movie, but I appreciate that you did. And you think it's over. The bad guys got the girl onto the train, and Bond is left in the dust until... nope! But all of the action sequences in this film are fantastic, and they're seasoned with great little moments like this guy getting shot through a fucking window. The sauna fight between Bond and Onatopp is as sexy as it is thrilling. Why aren't there more action scenes like this one? Other than this, the only sauna fight scenes we have is the hanging dong scene in Eastern Promises. Get on it, Hollywood.
No more foreplay.
I beg you. 5 out of 5.
Not lace or leather.
In Goldeneye, we get the first instance of Judi Dench portraying M, and she fully makes the role her own, which should be expected from someone who's given such a great performance in 2019's Cats. But seriously, she brings this stern demeanor to her role, where she has this clear sense of authority over Bond and is not as chummy as some previous M's in the franchise.
If you think for one moment I don't have the balls to send a man out to die, your instincts are dead wrong.
She dislikes Bond, but also cares if he survives his missions. Desmond Llewellyn is great as always, and his first moment in his scene is explosive. His scene is just full of so many marvelous moments of Q Branch in the background going just haywire. Working there seems to be full of mishaps and an HR disaster, and I love it. Samantha Bond is back as Moneypenny, and she is fantastic as always, but a little bit more hard to get with James Bond when it comes to her workplace sexual harassment she has to deal with.
As far as I can remember, James, you've never had me.
And Joe Don Baker is fun as a CIA spook who helps Bond in his pursuit of the bad guys. And we can't forget Robbie Coltrane's KGB officer turned gangster Zukovsky. Just a wonderful friend in low places. But the Bond girl, Isabella Scorupco's Natalia Simonova, she's okay. That's unfair. I like her, but her role in the story is more plot-driven than character-driven. She's only involved in Bond's story because of her connection to the Goldeneye satellite. And the only reason why he knows to use her help is because they find themselves in a life-or-death situation and he realizes she might be useful. She just doesn't have enough agency for her to remain in the story. She is fighting an uphill battle in this film to be memorable opposed to the villains of Goldeneye. 4 out of 5.
Time is not on.
Sean Bean as Alec Trevelyan and Famke Janssen as Xenia Onatopp give this category 5 out of 5 on their own, and I wouldn't have to say anything about this and you would agree with me. Trevelyan is this dark shadow of Bond himself as 006 and was this close friend of him. That gives personal stakes to James Bond, and it makes it feel more menacing because he knows what James will do in every situation. Bond uses his talents for impersonal reasons. This is his employment. Trevelyan uses his skills for personal reasons, and his motivations are not unwarranted. The actual history of the repatriation of the Cossacks in World War II, a mostly Ukrainian ethnic group that fought against the Soviets in World War II and was captured by the British, tried to defect to the West at the end of the war. But after the conference at Yalta, the British sent them back. Many killed themselves rather than being traded back to the Soviets, who ended up killing them anyways. In this film, Trevelyan's parents were Cossacks who killed themselves rather than being given an executioner's bullet. And Trevelyan has understandable hatred towards the country that orphaned him. His reappearance in the film after, in the first act, seemingly dying, has some of the greatest monologues in James Bond villain history.
Has undermined all those regimes. Only to come home. Well done, good job, but sorry, old boy.
The combination of a strong motivation and a personal connection to Bond makes him probably the greatest villain of my lifetime.
For England, James?
Goldfinger ain't got shit on him. Stop that. Xenia Onatopp, on the other hand, is pure sadistic delight. She uses her sexuality as a weapon, disarming men with her coy, lustful smile, her playful banter, and murders men in a way only she can. Her legs. No, literally. She asphyxiates men between her thighs. And it's so good. I know that I say this about every Bond villain, but Janssen in particular is relishing every moment in this movie, portraying a sadistic murderess. But we have more. Alan Cummings' Boris is full of bravado and sexual innuendos. And he is one of the greatest payoffs to one of Q's gadgets that I have ever seen.
Yes! I am invincible!
And finally, kind of forgettably, we have Gottfried John as a Soviet general who helped fake Trevelyan's death. 5 out of 5.
It's a gold and honey trap.
Look, the plot of this movie is fantastic. It's got some incredible writing, some great double crosses, and spectacular action sequences. And this is where I get to say what a great fit Brosnan was to the character of James Bond.
She always did enjoy a good squeeze.
He wanted this role badly, and he seems to be the only person who ever portrayed Bond wanting to do more. He was even offered the role of James Bond before Timothy Dalton took the reins, but because he couldn't get out of the Remington Steele contract that he was in, he was unable to take it. But in this film, he shines. Bond going up against a warped funhouse mirror of himself is a really cool concept, but it is added by showing a potential new direction the franchise could go in. Instead of the Cold War and the Russians be these antagonists, the franchise could theoretically deal with the implications of their imperialist past, which this film deals with in the case of the Cossacks being traded back to the Soviet Union. And apparently they had an idea of a film that would take place during the transition of power of Hong Kong from the British to the Chinese, which may have been thrown out mostly, but kept some of the bones in for Tomorrow Never Dies. Unfortunately for Brosnan, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson, producers of the Bond franchise after the tragic passing of Cubby Broccoli, decided to go in more of a camp aesthetic for Brosnan's Bonds, which, going up against the likes of Austin Powers, Agent Cody Banks, and Johnny English, may have left the flagship spy franchise floundering in open waters. But in Goldeneye, they made a fantastic film. 5 out of 5. Goldeneye gets a total of 23 out of 25. Really great movie. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing with your life? So in 2006, after the utter disaster of Die Another Day, Eon was looking for a new direction to take the Bond franchise, to get it back on the right track. And by new direction, I mean adapting the first novel that James Bond appears in, Ian Fleming's 1953 novel Casino Royale, and have a director that has already directed a James Bond film do this one.
Do you know what you give?
I guess I really like post-grunge alt-rock because combined with Garbage and this song, I think it kind of works with the James Bond franchise. I absolutely love this sequence. It's seamless, connecting the sensibilities of the late Chris Cornell with the previous James Bond sound. The song, You Know My Name, absolutely slaps hard, and I will have no one tell me anything different. Just think of the title, You Know My Name. It's a way to tell the audience, yeah, we all know you know who James Bond is, but you never seen this James Bond. Kind of a sly, this is a new Bond, same as the old Bond. But is it? And the images, the green background of a casino card table, the surreal uses of the suits of a deck of cards, clubs being the gun smoke, spades being bullets, hearts being blood, diamonds being there. It's a creative way to use the surreal images to the plot of the movie. I like it a lot. 4 out of 5. After watching the travesty that was the action set pieces of Quantum of Solace, this film is a breath of fresh air. The hand-to-hand fighting in this movie is so brutal, daring you to look away, but you can't because the choreography is so goddamn well done. The chase sequences, they're done perfectly, and the opening parkour sequence sets up Bond's characterization just so brilliantly. Can't climb a bunch of cables like the guy you're chasing? Make the thing that you're standing in go up. Can't fit through the tiny hole in the wall that's being built because you're just too goddamn big? Burst through the fucking wall. It's so fun. And the airport fight sequence. It's so good. In the sequence, there is a moment where the truck that they are in bursts through an unexpected barrier. In most instances, in most films, this jolt of shock to the audience would be manufactured added stakes. Something that we didn't see, comes out of nowhere, but is important to the sequence. This sequence is different because in this sequence, we are in the perspective of the combatants. Their attention is directed towards each other. The driver is looking behind him because Bond is on the truck. He doesn't see what's in front of him. There is a single moment where he looks in front of him and then he tries to push on the brakes before bursting through the debris. This isn't some director being tricky to the audience, as most other action sequences in this film give the audience all of the information that we need to see that everything is logical, to know that some sort of prop doesn't just magically appear. It's been there the whole time. But in this specific moment, the filmmaking elevates the emotional connection we have to the characters, as we are as blindsided by the crash as the characters are. 5 out of 5. Ava Green's Vesper Lynd is the greatest Bond girl of all time, and I will not hear any arguments against her.
Thank you.
How insane is it that she, a French woman, learned how to speak English in a British accent for this role? Why does this film's love story work where Spectres fall short? Especially since Vesper only appears about an hour into the movie, just like Madeline Swan does for Spectre. This one spends time on the emotional story of their relationship. There are 3 key scenes that show the emotional growth of these characters and their bond to each other. The train scene, where they first meet, Vesper and Bond verbally jab at each other. She clearly has an issue with the plan ethically and morally. She doesn't want to have the British government personally finance terrorism, and they spar with their words about how psychologically broken they both are. And Vesper gets an upper hand by clearly classifying who Bond is. To Bond, she's standoffish, but intriguing. Not who he'd usually go after, because he'd usually go after married women, but she's intelligent, and that fascinates him. The second scene is when they are getting ready for the card game. Bond bursts in and orders her how she should dress so that she can get the attention of all the card players to her and her low-cut dress, rather than thinking about what their cards are. And Vesper gives him a dinner jacket.
There are dinner jackets and dinner jackets. This is the latter.
He tries it on, and it seems like it's just to humor her, but while he's alone, looking at himself in the mirror, he realizes it kind of fits him, and he really likes it. They are shown to be complimenting, even elevating each other, as good relationships do. And finally, we get to the shower scene, which is less of a Skyfall sexy shower, and more of a oh god why shower, as it is preceded by James Bond murdering somebody and Vesper helping him. Vesper sits in the shower, fully clothed and frozen in fear. Bond comes in to comfort her, and when she says she can't get the blood off of her hands, he sucks on her fingers. It's not a sexual thing. It's an emotional, you're human and in pain, and I'm here for you. He's metaphorically taking the blood off of her hands and bringing it into himself so that he can carry her sins for her. So, when it is ultimately revealed that he used Vesper's name as the password for the funds, it shows what kind of connection they have to each other and how fully smitten Bond is with Vesper. And it shows how ultimately heart-wrenching that gut punch of an ending is, when it is revealed that she has been trading secrets with some shadow organization and she is giving the money to them, which leads to her death. The line,
"The bitch is dead,"
is just heartbreaking, as he is just telling himself, lying to himself, that he doesn't care. Unlike how cold it reads in the original Fleming novel, being more of a sexist throwaway line. Judi Dench's M is here, authoritative as ever, and in this film, Jeffrey Wright cements himself as my
Felix Leiter, a brother from Langley. Does it look like we need the money?
Oh shit!
And I can't forget to mention Katerina Marinos, Solange Dimitrios, wife of a terrorist who has a nice ride on a beach and a nice ride with Bond before, you know.
Quite the body count you're stacking up.
This is still an Ian Fleming property. 5 out of 5. Who needs henchmen, really, when you have Mads Mikkelsen playing Le Chiffre? He is a bastard, willing to let his girlfriend lose a hand because of his arrogance and his failings while gambling the stock market. That's right, in this film, Bond is Wall Street Bets. Hashtag Diamond Hands. He is meticulous, wants complete control, and this is shown when, even after Bond proves his arrogance and self-destructive nature by losing all of his money earlier in the card game,
You must have thought I was bluffing, Mr. Bond.
he still decides to poison Bond because he wants to get this game over quickly. It's after Le Chiffre loses the card game and his back is against the wall where Mikkelsen really shines as a villain. Instead of being your stereotypical arch villain, finding a weird and convoluted way to get the information out of Bond that he needs to know, he takes the Alexander the Great Gordian knot approach. Simple but effective. A rope with a knot at the end of it, and a man's naked balls. Even though Bond gets to throw a little bit of humor into the scene,
I've got a little itch down there.
making it seem like he might have an upper hand,
Now the whole world's gonna know that you died scratching my balls!
Le Chiffre comes down and proves that no, actually none of this matters, and Bond is suffering for no reason.
But you are so wrong!
Because Bond's higher-ups will not only hire Le Chiffre, but pay him for the information that he has. He's a smarmy bastard, and the fact that his eye bleeds blood every now and then is a perfect little touch that will make him into a classic James Bond villain. 5 out of 5. I love it.
I've seen angels fall from God.
Casino Royale is just shy of 2.5 hours, but it moves. The story is so good that it makes the most boring-ass card game ever in Texas Hold'em sound perfectly classy and exciting. Seriously, most people who play that card game look less like James Bond and more like this fucker. The change from the original novel does make sense. Baccarat is more of a mid-century card game, and most people have no idea how to play it. I read Fleming's novel recently, and I still don't know how to play it, even though he goes into excruciating detail how to play the game. And if you lived through the mid to early 2000s, you most certainly spent time in somebody's basement playing poker with their personal poker set. The way Craig plays Bond is cemented in this film. He's brash, like a wrecking ball, and is not the type of state-sanctioned assassin who would hesitate to put a bullet in a bad guy. Where Brosnan has this cool demeanor, like no matter how many bullets are flying through the air, he's gonna be his charming, banter-happy self. Craig brings this silent rage to the role. Yes, Brosnan has certain moments where Bond's psychopathy comes to the forefront of his performance. And Craig has his witty remarks.
That's because you know what I can do with my little finger.
Craig ultimately embodies this intense, I will fuck you up energy that gets the audience fully on board. And the film is shot brilliantly, I might add. That nut tap torture scene, it hurts, but it looks great. Sweaty, dark, brilliant. You almost smell the stink of that terrible room he's in. But the plot of this movie is elevated because it has an emotional story running parallel to the plot of the movie. Bond slowly gaining the ability to care about another human being, letting a person in to the point where he can believably say,
Whatever is left of me, whatever I am, I'm yours.
This movie doesn't just fuck. This movie makes sweet, sweet love, which makes the tragic ending hit that much harder. He has fallen for Vesper. His entire being is hers. He's willing to give up his life as an assassin and try to scrape whatever soul he has left to live an honest life with her. But her dealings with the Shadow organization and Mr. White in particular, and his own failings at trying to save her from her death, lead Bond to become the callous killer that we know and love.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
5 out of 5.
You know my name.
Casino Royale ends up with a total of 24 out of 25. Winner of this round is Casino Royale. The verdict is no. I cannot have this be a tie. I just can't. Just because this is some British imperialist's wet dream doesn't mean I need to go soccer rules and have it be a 2-2 tie. Alright, let's do the math here. Brosnan came out with 68 out of 100, and so Craig, that one was 68 out of 100. Seriously? Literally all this work grading and trying to scientifically tabulate who's better and not, and it comes out the fucking same. Not even great scores either. They both fail. Look, they both have some great movies. Casino Royale is constantly in my top 10 of all movies I've ever seen. And, in a way, every James Bond movie is someone's favorite James Bond movie. So I guess this works. I'm still leaning towards Craig, so I think I'm going to have to give him the best Bond because I just like his movies more. And I came of age as a film viewer in his era of Bond movies. But I grew up with Brosnan, so there's a tinge of nostalgia that makes me love those movies just a little bit more than they should. And my thoughts on No Time to Die are as follows. I really like the title. No Time to Die. Feels very James Bond, especially in Brosnan having two titles that have die in it. But that could also be a problem. It feels like it's trying to be James Bond a little too much. And because of the spectacular failure that Spectre was, I am afraid that they're going to try to salvage the franchise by leaning further into the continuity problem that I have with that movie. Billie Eilish's song, which is out, that's gonna be a no for me, dog. Yeah, I'm sorry. A teenage girl does not have the world experience to tie their voice to a 50-year-old assassin. There's a reason why A View to a Kill was not performed by the fucking Go-Go's. Like I said, teenager. I listen to the song and it feels like they're taking the wrong lessons they should have learned from Skyfall. It's underproduced, and the brass instruments that are staples of every Bond song that has happened are muted and echoed. It's gotta be one hell of a visual spectacular for me to change my mind about how this song does not fit with James Bond. But from the look of the film, I don't know, it seems like there's some demon from Madeline Swan's past that Bond is going after. They might kill her, which is in keeping with Bond's history of having his wife being murdered, with Diana Riggs, Tracy Bond, being murdered at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Diana Rigg, the only Bond girl that I would hear the argument for as to being a greater Bond girl than Vesper. But again, that would be a retread, which would ultimately show a franchise spinning its wheels. There is a new 007, which apparently the internet lost its shit over. The franchise is James Bond. I don't care if there's another 007. But look, I'm very excited about No Time to Die. Like, I should have watched this movie multiple times by now. So many times. It's supposed to come out in fucking April. And I cannot wait to see what will happen next. And Rami Malek has an opportunity to be a great Bond villain, because he's really good in Mr. Robot. I hope all of you enjoyed this series of videos as much as I enjoyed making them. So like, share, subscribe. Be sure to look forward for what's coming next because I've got some other great stuff lined up ahead. Thanks for watching.